Welcome back to ThinkTech's Kaleo Kalihi Radio Edition here on AM 760 KGU. We are here with the Walthalls, Cheryl and Justin. Also want to give a shout out to my brother Paul, my co-host. He's at a wedding today. Thank you, Paul, for letting me know half an hour before the program. And I have a cold, but thanks to Chaz and the crew here, I have my halls on hand, ready to face the next half of our interview here today. Now, this one, we're going to try and not go controversial. We also want to welcome calls. For those of you listening out there, you might want to tune in today and you may have some questions that you want to ask. That's at 296-5467. The approach we're going to take on this topic today is more of an exchange. We're going to try not to get into a debate, but rather more as an educational process. And the subject matter today is
rail transit.
Rail transit. Now, Cheryl and I, we go back some 15, 16 years, I think.
Or more, maybe.
Or maybe more. And, I wouldn't say so much as we sit on opposite sides of the pond. But I see our former mayor sitting two offices over. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily a rail fan.
Right.
And part of my reservations, I would have to say, is based maybe on what I don't understand about rail.
Mm-hmm.
For one, you can see my keychain here. Between my wife and I have 4 vehicles. I love driving them. I was born and raised in Townie. Did a 6-year stint in Makakilo, and now I'm back in town again.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I look at rail, question I have is, will Honolulu ride it?
I don't think you're gonna have to give up your cars, Alan. Our generation is, by the time it's built, likely, it's gonna be at least 10 years from now for the full minimum operating segment to be open. And we're really looking at building it for the next generation of riders. It's gonna be our kids and their kids and all the generations to come after that that's really going to be riding our train, because it's going to take a while before not only the train opens, but along with it there are going to be communities that develop along every single station, and in those communities will be affordable housing. There'll be more density. A lot of people can live within 5 to 10 minutes walking distance of a train station, and those are the people who are really going to ride it.
And so the time frame as far as when people actually are able to get on and say you're in Kalihi, Kapahulu, and you're a student at UH, can get on in one of the depositories, hop on, get off. Is that projected at that 10 years?
Well, not to UH actually. The minimum segment that they're talking about right now currently is going to start in Kapolei, and it'll end at Ala Shopping Center. And those extra tracks out to UH and Waikiki, they call them spurs, those probably wouldn't be built until this first minimum operating segment is built.
I see.
Yeah, but the idea is for it to be a complete transit system. So not only will it be the train, but there will be the bus system. It's gonna change from what we know it today. And it'll be a system that, goes around the neighborhood and picks people up and brings them to the nearest station. So if you live in Mililani, it'll take you probably down to the Leeward station, or if you live in the Waipio area. There's going to be a big station at Leeward Community College with a park and ride as well. So you can either take the bus there, you can park your car there, hop on the train, go straight into town, and get to your job. The same thing would happen, on the town side is the bus system will pick up the students who get off at Ala Moana, and there'll be a shuttle bus straight to UH kind of thing. So wherever you live, it's obviously it's not going to go through every single neighborhood, but in the neighborhood where you live, you'll be able to get on a bus and head down to your nearest station so that you can get to where you need to go.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because our last conversation, I don't think we were really even talking about rail. We were just talking about going to lunch, and we started talking about rail.
Yeah.
And you did bring that up about how the bus system would actually be overhauled. I guess it would be a good way to term it, to be able to support ridership or encourage ridership.
Right.
So that would be the main mode of transport between cities. I think that's big because we see communities where rail is having an impact, such as Korea, Japan, where excuse me, those communities are what I don't know if I coined my own term, but they're rail centric, where it's actually more inconvenient to have a car than to ride a rail.
Right. Well, particularly like in Japan, where it's so expensive to own a car too. It's even expensive to get your driver's license. So, they really try to deter you from driving, and they really encourage public transport. But in places closer to home, in the mainland, places like Denver, they built their minimum segment, and it's so popular now. There's been so much redevelopment and investment into their city that they're building out all these additional lines to service more communities already.
So tell me a little bit about Pacific Resource Partnership's role in rail transit. What are you folks? Are you folks facilitating something, or?
Well, PRP, we are the advocacy group for the Hawaii Carpenters Union and all of its contractors. So, we do things that advocate for the construction industry and things that will benefit our community at large. And we really feel that rail transit is going to be a huge economic stimulus to our community. It's going to create jobs. It's going to create housing. A lot of the problems and issues that we see today, like affordable housing, there's really no affordable housing right now. Everything's so expensive in Hawaii. There's that problem. There's homelessness. It's all tied in together. And rail is not just the train. It's about those communities that will come up along the route. So it's called transit-oriented development. Rail-centric I love that term, but yeah, the official term.
It's available for lease.
Okay, you already
Then I can become a rail contractor too.
Okay, but where is my train of thought? It's about being able to live and work and have a better quality of life. And right now, we're walking down the path where all of our young people are leaving the islands. Even my generation, his brother, my classmates, they're saying it's too expensive to live in Hawaii. I can't afford to buy a house there. Why would I live there when I can live in California or live in Las Vegas, and the quality of living is so much cheaper. But then they're missing out on being at home. And what I'm really thinking about, you mentioned that we just had a daughter, and I know you have 2 young sons at home, and do we really want to see them leave because there's no place to live and there's no jobs here?
I can't see them leaving because I'm a little heavy, and if I get immobile, I'll need both of them to lift me around. So it's important for them to stay home. Or I'm going to have to get my LARC, my affordable transportation. I'm not sure if you're on PRP side equipped to answer this, but I'll field this question. Here in Kalihi, where our business is located, one of our pressing concerns is that as a repository for one of the jobs, what's expected to happen as far as property values, rents?
I think it depends, like how your proximity to the rail station itself. But if you're within 5 minutes walking, or 10, probably even 15 minutes out. Sorry, don't quote me on that. But I'm pretty sure that property values are expected to go up. But there's still challenges along the way. There are, whether or not there are going to be like financing tools for developers to come in and redevelop the area. If it doesn't make sense, it won't happen. So that's some of the things that we're thinking about now at PRP is how can we create the conditions from which the right way to do TOD will happen.
Maybe I can make a personal plea on my side, as PRP is an advocacy group, that say for example Kapalama is slated under Kamehameha School's master plan as a music and I think a musical district. Our lease expires in 2017, so it's just a mere, okay, I'm not an accountant, so it's 6 years away. I think I got that right. what we would like to see, and I think many businesses, and it's not directed at you, is maybe food for thought for those listening in. One of my concerns is, as we continue to move our society forward, we see a lot of development. We see a lot of big businesses come in, big box retailers, and many of us understand that's part of trending, where big box comes in, it goes through the cycle, creates a need for smaller niche-based services, and then kind of goes full circle. But one of my requests, and I suppose if I were to think very idealistic, is to have local flavor at the points of deposit for the rail. Rather than seeing a Jamba Juice or Starbucks at every rail stop. Which is great because I love Jamba Juice and Starbucks. And maybe a great harvest. But maybe this is selfish. Businesses like mine, where we're involved in music, culture, and musical instruments, then I can really see that working.
Right. Yeah.
Because the generation that you had mentioned that is anticipated ridership are a little bit more green in their thinking, where the older generation Xers, I think, and even Generation Y, we're still concentrating on our careers,
right,
our own lives, and I suppose there's some hope in that, because it would, rail ridership would decrease our emissions. Hopefully our road maintenance would go down, because we're not going to have the buses for one.
Right.
We'll still have the major trucking taking between the communities, but it looks a bit more bright for me ever since we started conversing about rail. Because prior to that, like I mentioned, it's not a big secret that I wasn't a rail fan. But I'm starting to cross the fence now.
All right. I knew I could be convincing.
You're at your point, saleswoman.
Well, yeah, I think that, it is really promising. Alan, I spent 3 years living in Japan, and I took the train and took the bus everywhere, and I see, like what you're talking about is like every station has that thing that you need to go buy, that food or that ramen or that omiyage that you have to go pick up and bring home to your family, right?
Yeah.
So it's that idea where, and that's where the city is going right now, right? They started in Waipahu already. They've already talked to, I think, 2 or 3 communities about what they think their station should look like. What should be there? What are the restaurants and stores that, need to be lifted up and flourish, in the community. So they're going down that road right now and talking to the community. So there is going to be a lot of community involvement. So when it does come down to Kalihi, I encourage you to participate in these conversations with them and talk about what Kalihi is going to look like, what the Kalihi of tomorrow is going to look like. Driving down the road here, I see, there's a lot of rundown places, but there's a lot of those restaurants that have been here in the community forever, and this is our opportunity to bring in new people to come and try these places.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's pick up on that when we come back from break here. You're listening to Kaleo Kalihi, part of the Think Tech series here on AM 760 KGU. If you have any questions or comments, dial in at 296-5467. We'll be right back.